Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whichever time you guys are checking us out, and welcome to another episode of XSGaming Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Xander Skullion, and joining with me, as always, my wonderful co-host, Mr. James Gruesome. What's up, James?
Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope you all are doing well, no matter what may be going on with all the crazy mess that's still going on. But I hope you're good, having a good time, and playing some good games and all that good stuff.
Indeed, and I'm really happy that this is our second podcast this month. This is something we haven't had a chance to do in quite some time, and I do want to tell the listeners that we're going to try to have a normal schedule, 2 podcasts a month. Every other week is a new show. Will that happen? I'm not sure. It depends on how things are, because things get crazy, but yeah.
Yeah, they do tend to. This is a record for a little bit. Like I said, we've had a stretch where, we've, since the last episode, it's been like a couple weeks, but we had a big long stretch before then. Like I said, we try to do what we can. Lots of times, like scheduling and just life and things like that get in the way. But like I said, we both try to do what we can to get on a regular schedule because, it's just a good thing to have. And it's great for the people that want to listen. I know what it is for all the shows I listen to. It's just like if it don't pop up, it's kind of like, man. And then, we don't want you to forget about us. So we're going to try to be around as much as we can.
Indeed, and if you guys enjoy the show, be sure to leave us a review, whether you're listening to us on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, or what's some of the other stuff we have? Spotify, of course, yes, Spotify. Be sure to leave us a rating. It helps the show out. It helps more folks find our show as well, and we definitely appreciate that. Now, there's been some gaming news happening. There's been some stuff here and there. I think I have to address the elephant in the room, something that we always see pop in and out. And I think it's ever since the Switch came out. There's always been this rumor. A new Switch Pro that has surfaced again. It's been rumored that Nintendo is working on a Nintendo Switch 2. But even there are no plans for a follow-up to the original Switch. We won't know anything coming in 2020 because no consoles are launched for this year. But 2021, however, is more likely if recent reports prove to be accurate. After Nintendo released the streamlined and more affordable Nintendo Switch Lite in 2019, rumors of a premium Switch console, a Switch Pro, will be offering upgraded hardware with improved graphics and processing power, begin to look more credible and not going away. Nintendo isn't worried about the upcoming PS5 or Series X, which starts of the competitive new console generation. However, Microsoft's foray into flexibility and mobile cloud gaming on Game Pass could potentially step on Nintendo's toes and develop of a digital-only device like the Xbox One S All Digital and the disc-free PS5, which could prompt Nintendo to signal something that's got something new and in the future in the works. Despite a lack of official confirmations, rumors persist, so while we wait for more definitive answers from Nintendo, we're going to run with the more likely and unlikely possibilities of a Switch 2 in the future. What do you think about this, James? I think this is something that we hear like every other month about a new Nintendo Switch Pro.
Seems like almost since the Switch came out, there was rumors of another one. And, we did get the Lite, which... like a different form, more affordable form. I think that was kind of cool, to give people that option if, maybe you want to do the handheld only, but, with the original purpose of the Switch was to switch, handheld to TV. So, I could definitely see another one coming out. It happens. It happens to every system. We've all, those of us that have a Switch, we've had them for a little while. And, it's inevitable. It's just one of those things like, is it going to be something you have to get? A lot of times, like a lot of us, we don't feel like being forced into buying another system. It kind of seems like that. One system you get, it's like it should last. We didn't have a Nintendo 2. We kind of did, but that wasn't really anything different. As far as can I play, these newer games on this, without it like lagging or anything, cutting out some graphics. We've seen them do this with the 3DS. That new 3DS, which I think was, probably kind of a failure overall. I don't know the statistics, but it's just I don't see them. They seem to look out for their fans and people that buy their products. So like I don't really think they would put out another system, that it kind of negates the old one, and it's like, well, you guys are left back in the dust. But I
Yeah.
could definitely see, something with some more power. The Switch will be around for a while, but they still want to compete, and they're doing a great job, now. But with these two new systems coming up, yeah, I mean, you never know what might happen. I definitely don't think they'll be having like a brand new system for much longer. I think they'll definitely ride, the Switch out as long as they can, because it's been so huge. With many people that own it, you don't wanna like lock those people out from like certain games.
Yeah, I mean the Switch has been selling phenomenally well, more surprising than some people expected. And the Nintendo Switch or Nintendo consoles in general, like they usually have a lifespan of 5 years. I mean, we look at like the Wii U and the Wii and GameCube. We look at some of the past consoles, and it's usually a 5 year span. I mean, granted, they still make games for those consoles. I mean, hell, we got a new Wii U game not too long ago. I think it was like Hawaii Shakedown or something like that. Was like the official last Wii U game, and then we still get Just Dance ports on the Wii. So I mean, it still happens, but I think Nintendo definitely is going to be doing something to some sort of caliber for trying to take a little bit of the spotlight away from the PS5 and new Series X. They got to do something, even if they say they're not in competition. They have to do something to kind of, but hey, you haven't bought a Switch yet? Hey, we're still here. So I think in the future, I think we'll have a Switch Pro console that kind of has a little bit more horsepower, but at the same time be more affordable as well, because a lot of the new games that are coming out, I don't see a PS5 game being ported to the Switch and running that well. I mean, I've been very surprised to see what the Switch can do with some of these ports, like, Doom and Skyrim, games like that. But, some games like Outworlders or, Outworlders, like, it didn't do too well. Like, the port wasn't that great. So I'm very curious to see how they do with that.
Yeah, they've done better, I think, than many people thought they would. With a lot of those. But like I said, it's like you said, with those two new systems coming out, how much more powerful, can games get? I guess we'll see. And Nintendo's definitely going to do what they can, to keep up. And they still have, their big franchises, which, will always bring people to their systems. I think as long as they have good Mario games, Zelda games.
Yeah, we still got Breath of the Wild 2 right around the corner. That's definitely be a holiday seller.
Isn't there all like the Mario? Is it the 35th anniversary?
Yeah.
The maybe getting the redos of the Galaxies and some of the older games, things like that will always bring people in. They'll always have their loyal fan base, but it's still a business, and it still is competition, because not everybody can afford all three.
Yeah.
But, they're going to do what they can to try to lean you over to their side. And still, I think having that handheld, and TV option is still a great, it's a great thing to get people in there, because it is something you can, take out with you. You're not stuck, just in this one room playing it. It's like it can go anywhere, which is great.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed the Switch. I've enjoyed the hybridness of it, being able to play at work and come home, play it on the TV, or vice versa. My girlfriend has a Switch Lite, and she really enjoys it. And at first, she didn't want a Switch Lite. She wanted, in her quotes, she wanted a full Switch, not a Switch Lite, a Switch whole. That's what she said. And she got it as a present from my sister, and she's really enjoyed it. She loves it. And moving a little bit through the news, it looks like that Xbox Series X might have a 2-week head start on the PS5. This is a little report suggesting the PS5 will launch on November 13th. Now, a PS5 will launch in mid-November this year, just in time for Christmas spending, a VGC report indicates. Sources in development and retail told VGC that Sony has booked a week of significant marketing beginning on Friday, November 13th, which might indicate the date of the console's release. Sony has yet to confirm the launch window for the PS5, but chief rival Microsoft has bookmarked the month of November for its Xbox Series X. According to VGC, however, developers have been planned to put out for the Series X launch in the first week of November, and staff at Xbox expect the PS5 to show up in the week beginning of November 13th, which would give Microsoft a minor head start on sales. I mean, I definitely see it coming out in November for those two consoles. I mean, that's just enough for holiday spending and folks getting ready for it, and of course, like Black Friday hype and Digital Monday stuff. I see it happening.
Yeah, which a lot. Seems what I heard. A lot of the Black Friday, sales will mostly be like online things. I imagine some stores will try, but with everything going on, I wonder too, how any of these systems will do. There's always going to be people that will go out and get them right away, but a lot of people are kind of like strung out, like financially. There's lots of people that are just completely out of jobs still. Whether your job is just limited with limited hours, or you're just not working at all, like that's still happening. As far as me, with where I work, like nothing has changed. I've been working more, especially with more online orders. That affects my job as far as like delivery get hit up real bad. But a lot of people, they're still wondering what's going on. Now, I would say if we see a second stimulus package come around, which you keep hearing rumors. Sometimes it's like, is it going through? Will this person cut it back? This party cut it, this blah blah blah. I just want people, no matter what, to like get help. And a lot of people will need that money for bills, but a lot of people, like for me, for instance, if I get it, I would definitely get a new system. I planned on it before, but I like having money in the bank. And at this time, like I don't really know, if I want to drop $500 or $600. That was the plan initially, but as the tax return and stimulus money kind of dwindles down some, I like having a little emergency fund. So like, whereas I might wait, and of course, as I mentioned last episode, I did order the Analog Pocket, which was like a $250 investment right there, but it was something I just really wanted, and I decided to make that choice. But I wonder about the Christmas in general. I'm sure Christmas will be a distraction, and people might try to go all out just to it kind of escape from everything that's going on. And but you don't know, because like I said, money is limited. We'll just it's going to be an interesting holiday and Christmas time, I think, just all around.
And it's not just the consumers as well. It's also game development as a whole. We've seen a lot of companies delay games, and a lot of titles have been delayed until 2021, and a lot of that's because of the different work environments. I mean, you got to think some of these games that use like mocap, like motion capture, it's harder for them to do it when they're working remotely at home. It's not something they can do. So there's a lot of regulations. I've been listening to a lot of various industry podcasts, and they've been talking about the pandemic and gaming development, and it's definitely affecting them just like it's affecting everyone else. So it's very interesting to see what the holiday season is going to portray with the gaming industry and the game market, like what exactly is going to happen. I mean, we'll only see as time moves on. But another last thing I want to talk about before I get into this really cool Game Boy Color mod that I wanted to tell you about. Sony confirms that it is exploring the idea of bringing more first-party titles to the PC. Competition from online PC games is expected to continue intensively. Sony has revealed plans to bring more of its first-party titles to PC in a bid to promote further growth and profits. In the final line at the end of Game and Work Services segment of the company's Corporate Report 2020, Sony said that they will explore and expand our first-party titles to the PC platform in order to promote further growth in our profits. Now, this is something really interesting that we're seeing, Microsoft, and we're seeing Sony kind of go towards PC. And I don't think it's because the home console is dying out. I think it's just them seeing something and spreading their umbrella. Like we're seeing games like Death Stranding and Horizon Zero Dawn come to PC after, being an exclusive for PS4 for a certain period of time. It goes to PC. I know some folks don't like that concept, but me personally, I think it's a great idea.
It's always it's more money, more options. I like everybody to be able to, play certain games they want to. It's more money coming back to the companies. That's more money for them to make, newer games too. I think it's just better all around. It's like, why not? Because Microsoft's already kind of had a little bit of a lockdown on that, where they have like their Game Pass and stuff on PC. They give that option, and that's the thing I think a lot of companies are realizing. It's like people need options depending on whatever. If they have the console, if they have the PC, like I'm with you. I don't think consoles are going away. It's just very easy. It's just something you can just go out and get. But I mean, the more places you can get your game out, just like the better it'll be.
Yeah, I mean, the more money a company makes from an IP, the more we'll see more games. We'll see, more ways of playing it. I mean, you think of, we were talking like the last podcast. We were talking about the Yakuza series. I mean, at one time that was just a Sony exclusive. That wasn't on any other console. Now, Yakuza 0 and I believe the Konami series, like 1 and 2 and 7, it's going to be on Xbox One. And I know those titles are also going to be on PC. And I know some folks, they don't like to think that their favorite games are going to another console. It makes them feel like they're out of a club or something. But honestly, if you really, really love a series like, say, Yakuza, something that was niche at one point, and there's more ways for people to play it and put more money in Sega's pocket, that's a good thing. That's awesome. That means more Yakuza or more, of a certain JRPG that's niche. That's awesome.
So you might even get that Sega console we all keep waiting for. Like,
oh yeah,
that could happen too. Probably not, but it's fun to think of. But definitely, more Sega games. I'll stay a Sega fan. It always holds so many memories. It's been around, about as long as Nintendo. For a lot of us to grow up with both those consoles around through the console wars, and it's just it's great to see their games out on other systems. See them teaming up with Nintendo now. It's just really really big change. Over the many past decades of things you thought you would never see. Sonic and Mario at the Olympics. Like, what the hell? It's cool. I've never actually played that game, but I think it's pretty cool that it happened.
Yeah, that was a very lackluster game. I kind of feel bad that I bought that.
I would kind of like to see like Mario Kart versus the
Sonic Racers.
The Sonic Race, like that.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
Or some sort of kart royale where it's like, say, like Sonic Racers, Mario Kart, and Crash Team Racing and a battle royale. Yeah. That would be sweet. That would be awesome. Yeah, I bought that Olympics game. I think it was right in the beginning of like the whole quarantine thing, and it was on sale in the eShop for like $24. And it's normally like a $60 game, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll go ahead and buy it for $24. I think me and the girlfriend like to play it, and she never touched it, and I played it by myself, and I'm like, oh, this isn't that good. And then I tried to even see if it had online, because it has online on it, and no one else online was playing it. Everyone's like, nah, dude, you got screwed over.
I like track and field and world games. That was the last time I think I played an Olympic game.
It was good. It was good though. I like the kung fu fighting, and I like the skateboarding. That was a lot of fun. But I mean, I still feel bad that I bought it. But
it happens.
Yeah. Now, the last little bit of news I want to talk about, and this is something kind of cool. It's a Game Boy Color that's actually a portable Nintendo Wii. Did you see anything about this?
No,
okay. So it popped up on Twitter. This guy, his Twitter handle is Gender of Mods. He posted, the latest project is complete. The goal was to make a portable Wii the size of a Game Boy Color, and after 9 months of work, it's finally finished. And it looks so nice. Like, it looks sleek. He has a picture of him holding the Nintendo Wii portable and the Game Boy Color side by side. And the Wii Boy Color is like a little thicker, but it's the same size. Further on the article, it says, this isn't an overclocked Android smartphone running an emulator. This is an actual Nintendo Wii motherboard inside this 3D printed case, cut down to fit the custom circuit boards, a 3.5-inch 480p IPS display from a car backup camera, a pair of standard 1865 lithium-ion batteries, a USB stick for storing games, and a USB-C port for both charging and game transfers, and a rear exhaust fan to keep it all cool. Ginger says that he used the official Nintendo Switch joysticks alongside with some buttons from the Nintendo Switch Lite, hooked it all up to the guts of a GameCube controller, which did require him to add some software hacks to emulate some of the Wii controls. And it says you probably know the Nintendo Wii also plays GameCube games and takes GameCube controllers, but those controllers can't operate the the Wii menu or many of the Wii's own titles. It looks cool. I mean, I don't know if he can play like the motion control games.
Yeah, I would wonder about that.
But I mean, it is pretty much, if anything, it's a portable GameCube that looks really awesome.
Yeah, if you at least, like, as soon as you mentioned the GameCube, I was like, oh, I'm like, wow. I'm like, that really adds something to it, because, I've never owned a GameCube. Like, I use my Wii, for any GameCube games I have. And, a lot of times, a lot of us would love to, have that era PS2 GameCube on some type of portable system. They haven't really seemed to, like, get that down yet. Like, you can get up to, like, PS1, on there. But anything after that, you just don't see that much. But, to be able to have that would be cool. And since I am such a huge fan of the Game Boy, it really sounds like an interesting concept. I'm going to definitely keep an eye on that and see how that's going. I mean, a lot of these dudes that do things like this, dudes and chicks, I mean, they're really, it's really amazing. Sometimes it's like, man, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah, I know, right?
like, look at what these people can do. Like, it's insane. And I'm sure this is something that also would probably, if he ends up, making any, would probably be really expensive. And I wonder sometimes with like the legality of things like that, which sometimes, I don't mind. There's ways to get around like that. But that's something to keep an eye on, man. Hopefully, we'll see more systems, like I said, that generation, in forms of, whether it is emulator, something you can run handheld, actually play your games. It sounds really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen portable GameCubes before that ran, disc and everything, and they were always big and bulky. I mean, they were always cool looking, but it was like, oh, it's kind of like a Game Gear, but a GameCube. But this right here is just so sleek. Like, I was just like, man, Nintendo needs to call this guy up and be like, yo, how did you do this? How much can we put towards this? Because this right here would be like a holiday seller. Like, imagine if they had a GameCube Mini portable, like a little plug and play with like 20, 30 games built in, but it's portable GameCube. Oh my God. Take my money.
Yeah, that'd be a holiday seller right there.
Yeah, it would.
That would be really cool.
People would be like, Switch Pro what?
That's what people want. Like, we're still lacking the GameCube games.
Yeah.
That'd be a good holiday thing too, if just like Switch put out some more old GameCube games that they could for us to play on Switch. That'd be a good way to generate some revenue too. We always just still want to play, whether it's linked up to like backwards compatibility or what. Like, we still just want that ability to still play these old games we have, without sometimes having to, drag out another system. Or if you had something like a handheld, it'd be very easy, to get into and just sit down and play it, man. That would be great.
Indeed. Now, getting to the main topic of the show, I asked the podcast listeners, and I think I asked this question before. My friend Justin brought it up in our last episode. He's like, "You guys never answered that one question." I'm like, "Oh," but I just got lost in between everything. But I asked if folks ever had like some sort of video game or some sort of console or an experience that helped them escape things in life, and not necessarily like traumatizing, like craziness, but just using gaming itself as a platform, as a hobby to just escape everything else. I was trying to really not. When I was asking the question, I was really trying not to be like, hey, tell me something personal that happened to you that made you really, really sad and video games made you happy again. Like, I wasn't trying to do that. But, I think you can agree, James, that gaming just like music or watching a movie, something about media is almost like an interactive time machine. There are songs, not just video games, but there are songs that I can listen to. Like a good example would be like if I listen to like Mr. Monster. I listen to Mr. Monster and I think of me and Mikey and his little neon going to Sonic's and buying hot dogs during the summer. Like it's just weird, you know.
Shout out to Jason Trioxin.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah, there are so many. I mean, sometimes just a song on the way to work. Like you're not feeling, I mean, most people aren't feeling it when you're going to work. I know
It's
I'm
true.
usually not. I just get used to it. But man, sometimes just putting on a certain song on the way there, whether it's something you play on your own or you happen to like. There's still one radio station like around town that I'll click on once in a while that it plays a lot of like older stuff, and it's like I'll click on that and that's great, or I'll pull up something on my phone, and like I said, whether it takes you back to a certain time or it just kind of just puts you in a better mood, because maybe it does take you back, because like we'll all have those certain ones, like you said, that just that certain place in life. And sometimes the earlier years, sometimes we're happier times, mainly because life, last times was just easier. Back then you didn't have as many worries. As you get older, even as far as like bills, or, many people have kids, things like that. There's so many other things. When you're younger, for the most part, like you didn't have a whole lot of worries. And it's like, it's always good, just to be able to go back in your mind and just get away from current times, especially now,
Yeah. Yes, I asked some of the listeners, and they shared some of their stories. Hedna, she said, honestly, right now, Animal Crossing New Horizons is my savior. It definitely is helping me distract myself from my brain firing 100 things to worry about over my son's surgery, worrying about so many smaller things in the game, but the fun kind of worrying. I don't know how else to explain it. And that's something I do want to say. Like Animal Crossing New Horizons, honestly, could not have came out at a better time. You think about when that game came out, how the world changed, how it became like the stay at home, and we couldn't really go out and do anything. And Animal Crossing just like it definitely helped me out. I was like, oh my god, this is such a good distractor. Animal Crossing's always been that way for me, but this time more than ever, I definitely enjoy it. And it's the way me and my girlfriend start our mornings. I fire up a pot of coffee, and I get in bed, and I hand her Nintendo Switch. I pull up my Nintendo Switch, and we start playing. And we, like this morning, we made sure we got up early enough that we went and bought turnips for the turnip market this week. It's fun.
It's one, Animal Crossing is never a game I've really gotten into, but I've seen so many people talk about that game and just, how it's really like helped them, especially during this time. So many people, like, especially early on when more people were stuck at home. I mean, that's just a very just, kind of simple, easy, fun game. You can just kind of sit. It's just a huge, we can say escapism, or even just a distraction, where you're just able to sit down and do lots of little, sometimes small, menial things that are fun, can really just, take you away from it all.
Indeed, our good friend Jared, shout out to Jared. He actually made a video talking about this, and I'm going to have a link on the description. But he shared the story. He said, 2012 was the year my whole world fell apart. While looking for a game, a friend suggested Burnout Paradise, since he knew I liked racing games. So I picked it up on the next PSN sale, and it really did the trick. From doing events to just aimlessly roaming the city while in group chats with friends, it hit all the right marks. I remember one night when me and my friend spent all night at his one spot on the pier, just driving back and forth over this ramp, attempting stunts and having the most pleasant conversations. Those were the good times during my worst days. And earlier today, me and the girlfriend streamed Minecraft and showed off the world we built during quarantine. We met earlier this year, but lockdown kicked in the week, and we plan to finally meet up. All of our earliest dates involved us playing Minecraft, and they were some of the best I've ever had. And that's really cool. That's really awesome. And I mean, for me, like I do have to say, like in 2012, my dad passed away, and video games really helped with that. And one game in particular, when I read this, it reminded me of Halo 4. when Halo 4 came out, I remember I played, at the time I was working a different job, and a lot of my friends were also playing Halo 4 and like Call of Duty and stuff like that. And every time I would get home, we would hop on Xbox Live and play it. And that was a great distraction because I was interacting with my friends. We were drinking beers, playing video games. And it was like, at the same time, though, it's like if I wanted to stay home and wallow, I could, if that makes any sense. So that was really interesting when I was reading that, and he shared the whole story on his YouTube channel. So I'll be sure to be sharing that on the description so you guys can check that out. Next up is Tyler Good. He says in the year 2020, when we were all going through hard times with the virus and political disclosures on both sides of the spectrum and riots, when it gets me through these times, when my two nephews come over and visit me and play motorcycle games, Trials Fusion, that cheers me up from the sadness and the drama that is going on in the world. The time that I deleted the game to save up some space for the PS4, believing that they're done with the game, my oldest nephew asked me if I could download the game again, and I did, and I'll make sure to never delete it again. That's something, too. I think it's really special when you're able to share a gaming moment, not just with yourself, but like with a significant other or relative, sibling, child, that kind of stuff really carries on. That's something that he'll remember for the rest of his life, for real.
Yeah, and like you said, I'm sure he probably will never, delete that game again.
Yeah.
It'll always be on there.
Oh, yeah. And the next one, this is the last one, this is also another different Tyler. It says in late 2016, first half of 2017, Forza Horizon 3 and Persona 5 helped me through some of the hardest times of my life. When one of my best friends passed away suddenly in December 2016, just 2 days before my birthday. And RPGs are freaking amazing for that kind of stuff, because
definitely
RPGs, like I will tell you, there are so many times in my past where I had like that nasty breakup that felt like your whole world was turning upside down, and I'm like, I'm gonna go play Final Fantasy, and it would just make everything so much better.
Mm-hmm.
When you're like a teenager and your first love breaks your heart, and your whole world's over until you play Final Fantasy 9.
It's like it just makes it a little bit better.
Indeed. What are some things, James, that really took you away with gaming?
I mean, and it's kind of funny, we talk about Final Fantasy. I actually have that. I have a couple versions. I do, and a couple games I picked were from kind of like different generations of my life. Final Fantasy, the first one on NES, was one that I mentioned years back, probably on the show, that I got so sick of reading about in Nintendo Power. It was just always in it, and I was like, I want this game. I was like, I want it because I'm sick of it, which was very odd. I didn't hate it. I was like, I want to play this because I'm tired of it, and I got it. And it was like a $40 game, which at that time was really good. Mostly you had your budget games, which there's a lot of good ones that were $20, but most were 50 or so. So to have this game, which is, these role playing games were new to a lot of us, and it was the first one I ever played, and decided to go out and get it. And that was one just. Even in school, being younger when that one came out, like I wasn't a popular kid or anything like that. I mean, school wasn't completely miserable. I didn't really hate it or anything. I didn't have a super rough time, but it was one that I was still able to come home, and I never really played anything like that. And it's such a, you always, whether you're playing, getting experience points, getting to that next, level, finding that new weapon, these secrets, also using Nintendo Power, to help. And it really just kind of like consumed me, like, not in a bad way where I was obsessed, but it was just something you could sit down, you could easily play for a few hours. And there was just always something going on. And, afterwards I've got Dragon Warrior. Some people, that was their first experience with RPGs, was with the free Nintendo Power cartridge. But I'd played Final Fantasy first, so Dragon Warrior was very easy to me. It was it was so much less complicated, but I still enjoyed it. And then the other Final Fantasy I would say would be really any of the ones on Game Boy. because there's something about just having that handheld system to where you could just sit in a corner of a room. Like I remember my sister had moved out and I was moving into a room, and in the process of like, getting a new bed and stuff, I would just sit in this room sometimes, with the cord plugged into the wall, to the AC adapter to save batteries. And I would just sit in this room and, play, a couple of Game Boy games. But Final Fantasy Legend was one of those I had, which just, once again, it's a game that is really so much in this tiny little cartridge that you could just kind of sit there and just kind of be in your total own world, just sitting in the dark. I mean, I might have had the light, I might have had the little light boy, or it's something, but I was just kind of in this empty room with pink. The room was pink and this bright red lava ass looking carpet, and I would just sit there in the corner playing, Final Fantasy, and just kind of just escaping and waiting on my new bedroom to finally happen.
Yeah, and man, like that's the way RPGs always felt with me. And speaking of Final Fantasy Legend, they're coming out with a collector's compilation of that. They just announced it a couple of days ago for the Switch that I think it's going to have all three Final Fantasy Legends on one cart.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to get this because those were fun games.
They're all great, and like I have them all. I've beaten Final Fantasy Legend. Final Fantasy Legend 2 was more. I don't know. There was a lot of weird things with like motorcycles and stuff in the first one. Like it was kind of an oddball one. To whereas the next two seemed a little bit more, we'd say, traditional RPG. I remember part 2 getting really tough. I never beat that. I have part 3, which I never played. Honestly, lately I've been thinking of starting one of those up again. Just as like just a simple one. I could just turn on my SP and jump back into it. But having like a new version of that too. I mean, plus, hey, you can get the handheld experience, obviously, with the Switch. And I'm sure that's a series many people now, that have been playing Final Fantasy for years, probably never played because maybe you didn't have a Game Boy. Many of the older games have been re-released, and of course you have other options to play those. But these are 3, and we all know they're really, what are they, Secret of Mana games, I think.
Yeah, I was about to say the Legend games on the Game Boy are actually Makai Toshi Saga, the Saga series. That's actually what it's going to be called, Collection of Saga Final Fantasy Legend for the Switch. Now, Final Fantasy Adventure, the first one, is actually Seiken Densetsu 1, which is the game before Secret of Mana. So that's like an actual Mana game. It's a weird localization they did to the West, but still really, really fun games.
Trying to capitalize, the Adventure is definitely a little bit more your Zelda style. It's had a re-release or two. On the GBA,
I think it was like Sword of Mana, wasn't that on the?
Yeah. It was kind of like a complete type of remake, but they were very more Zelda-ish style, action RPG. Whereas the other ones, were more, you gotta, collect experience points, everything like that. Different areas. They were definitely more. I think, if you played Final Fantasy, these, the Legends would be a little bit more up your alley. And I think they've kind of been, left behind. And I love seeing any type of re-release for games like these. And like I said, they're really cool. I wondered, with like, are they? Did they mention? Are they doing kind of? Is it like a remake, like of them all, or are they just?
I don't think so. I haven't had a chance to watch any of the footage. They keep saying it's a Game Boy re-release, so I'm thinking they're just going to be straight up like. Game Boy ports, which I mean,
totally playable though.
Yeah, they're especially on the Switch.
Really great. Yeah, and they'll have some type of. I imagine, like if you put them in the SP, it's like you get a little bit of color to the old games. So I'm sure they'll probably have some type of option if you want to do the, green and black, or if you want to have a little bit of color added to it. But either way,
you'll have that nice little bezel. Those nice bezels. I love the bezels. I'm pro bezel. Like any of those games that are like old and they go by the 4x3 and they have that nice border around it, I always go with it. I'm a sucker for it. I don't know what it is. Some people find the bezels distracting, but I don't know. I feel like it's the whole package.
Yeah, I like them. Just when they're really cool looking. Sometimes have some good background. Really neat.
Indeed, indeed. Now, closing with the show, let's get into games we've been playing recently. We'll start with you, James. What have you been playing?
Mostly been playing some Game Boy. I will say I did play the new Battletoads.
Oh,
Um,
how was that? I still
I
haven't had a chance to play it yet.
it's kind of funny, and I enjoy seeing people's much like the new Bill and Ted actually that just came out that you can watch on video on demand. I've seen lots of uh, friends that we have some of the same taste. I've seen many absolutely love it. Some don't, which is kind of interesting to see. It's like I just got to check it out for myself. But it's the same way with Battletoads. Like I was
Yeah,
not the biggest Battletoads fan.
I was about to say I don't expect Bill and Ted to be cinematic masterpieces anyway. Like, I mean, anyone that watches that and they're like, "Oh, this was horrible," I'm like, "Well, I mean, it's Bill and Ted. What do you expect?"
Either way, because you gotta love Keanu and Alex Winter, man. I mean, they're both, but everybody loves Keanu, man. And I mean,
Oh yeah,
Alex Winter is always, he's been like, directing, producing, both. Just seem like really cool dudes, and I'm still looking forward to checking out. Battletoads, I've seen people love it. I've seen people say it's trash. I admitted I kind of judged it on how it looked. I was like, it kind of just looks like a new cartoon. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I decided to get it, and I mean, I like it better than the old one. As I said, I wasn't a huge fan of the original. The
yeah.
graphic style really it allows for some really cool like combos. It's like your total turn into like a um, you turn into like different things as you're doing the combo, like a jackhammer. And I love cell shaded stuff, and it's kind of funny because
Yeah.
I kind of judged it ahead of time. It's like I love this style of graphic. There's lots of different like little mini games, or you even have jobs at one point. It's just it's been really fun. Has an easy difficulty level. You do get on the little
Little racer.
racers.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little racing stage. Was not horrible. It was just there wasn't a whole lot of enemies or anything. It was just kind of like a fun little kind of obstacle course almost. Now I imagine it might change later up, but like I said, each stage kind of gives you a little something different. You'll have your beat 'em up. You might have the racer stage. You might have some mini games. I just like I said, I've really dug it. I mean, I have the Game Pass, so like I mean, it was just cool for it to like pop up, on there and just be able to play it. I think it's really cool to see games like Streets of Rage and Battletoads get sequels that, to me aren't complete garbage and that I've just really enjoyed. I recommend everybody just, check it out for yourself if you can. Like I said, if you're a huge Battletoads fan, I mean, you'd probably be getting it anyway. And if you're like me and never really loved the original, I still like this one a lot. I'm going to sit down with it more. I've gotten, a few stages in. But other than that, just mainly I've been playing some Game Boy games. Speaking of watching things as I do many times lately, sometimes instead of game playing, it seems, I did watch Men in Black 1, 2, and 3. I'd never
Oh
seen any of
wow.
them. Yeah, I missed them, and my
I
wife
think
was like,
I never saw 3. I think I watched 1. I remember 1. I vaguely remember 2, but I never saw 3.
yeah, the 3 was kind of cool. I mean, I'm a big Tommy Lee Jones fan, so honestly, like anything he's in, I'm usually pretty cool with. But my wife, she wanted to watch it. She'd only seen the first, and I was just like, man, actually, I was like, I really like that. Like, I don't know why. I just kind of avoided it. I just never had the option to watch it. But we ended up watching 1, 2, and 3 in the same day. I did doze off during 3. I mean, it wasn't because it was boring. It's just I tend to fall asleep sometimes. But being on the Men in Black kick, as sometimes I do, I did end up getting a couple of Men in Black games.
Oh wow.
I got Men in Black on the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy Advanced. Both are about $6 a piece. Got them off of eBay. And they honestly, even these games were way better than I expected, considering they're kind of movie-related games.
Mm-hmm.
The Game Boy Color one, of course, is very simple. It's just kind of a side scroller, and you're just shooting some things. It's not super fast. It's a little slow, like some Game Boy Colors were. And the GBA version, I don't know if it's actually based on one of the movies, or if it's just kind of like a little offshoot.
It might be based off the cartoon because there was a Men in Black cartoon.
It's called Men in Black the series. The GBA one is
that's what it is, based off the
actually
cartoon.
The Game Boy Color is Men in Black the series, and I think the GBA is just Men in Black, but they might be related to that. And like I said, both the GBA seems a little bit more of you're kind of walking around shooting things, a little more puzzly, to where you got to find the right gun to shoot down a wall that you can get through. And I mean, I really enjoyed both. Like, I kind of expected crap, but I ended up getting those. And then the other one I got was Ring Rage, because I've been on the hunt of collecting every wrestling game, Japanese or US, on the game, all Game Boy Color, GBA. I think last time I mentioned a couple of New Japan games I got, where one was kind of a first-person wrestling game, like simulation story mode, kind of impossible to play. But the other one was just wrestling, and I mean, I had like a 25-minute match. I just sat there playing it. But Ring Rage is an older, original Game Boy by Natsume. But Natsume is pretty known, for making good wrestling games overall. And the funny thing with Ring Rage, I found there's also an arcade version, which I really like to play. In the arcade version, it looks like Pit Fighter, but it's a wrestling game, which means it could be wonderfully crappy. And I didn't know it existed. I'm going to try to see if maybe I have it on some kind of, some ROM of it somewhere. But Ring Rage, it's kind of a simple game. You only got 4 dudes you can pick from. And there's like a couple wrestlers, like a karate guy and something else. And it's tough. It's a tough game, but it's one, as I find I try to look back on, with like like my kid mind, to where it's like, man, if I had this game as a kid, I probably really would have enjoyed it. Because even now, if it's decent, I'm like, man, as a kid, I would have been able to like sit down with this thing for hours. But that's most of it for me, man. I've just been just digging in my little box of Game Boy games and pulling a few random ones out. I did play some Yoshi on Game Boy also, which
it's a good puzzle game.
I was always a big fan of. Yeah, my nephew, when I used to like watch him during the summer, he had a Game Boy with Yoshi. And I always remember sitting and playing it, and I just love that game, man. It's simple, it's fun. You got all the cool little Nintendo characters in there, and a lot of people, I think there's a lot of people that actually like don't like some of the Yoshi games. That might be the Yoshi's Cookies. I get them mixed up. But the Game Boy one, man, that one's where it's at. It's just very simple, fun. If you love Nintendo, that's a great one to play. And also, on a last note, something else I've been watching the original Avengers series.
Oh, I remember you mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah, one friend of mine I told to, he's like, oh, man, that sounds cool. But he's like, but I don't really like comic stuff. And I'm like, oh, no. I'm like, no, it's not related to Marvel.
Yeah, it's more like a UK spy show, right?
Yes. Yeah. And they even kind of refer to it as spy-fi, because they get into some weird, almost kind of Twilight Zone stuff, like weird robot monsters. I mean, you'll see Peter Cushing pops up on there, Christopher Lee. I got really excited when I saw Michael Goff. People will know as Alfred from the Batman series, the older ones, the 2 Michael Keaton, the Val Kilmer, and the George
Tim Burton.
Yeah, and then the other 2 after. All those original 4 Batman. Michael Goff was Alfred. He was the one, kind of like retaining character from all, and he was a British actor who I know from a lot of horror movies. And it's like I love seeing him in there, and like seeing him, I was like, oh wow, it's just, man, it's a fun show. There's some episodes dealing with like karate and, like I said, robot monsters. Started off like black and white, and there was about 6 seasons. They're not necessarily all related. Some of the characters changed, but a friend of mine like brought like a whole stack of DVDs over, and honestly, as soon as I popped it in, me and my wife, we both loved it. It's one of those, like, if you like old James Bond stuff, and a little bit of, like I said, Twilight Zone, even maybe slightly X-Files, because you got the guy and the girl team. It's a really awesome show, and I'm really looking forward to just sitting back and watching a whole ton of those and finishing out all the seasons at some point. But that's about it for me.
Yeah, there was actually a Avengers movie back in '98.
Yeah, My So-Called Life Girl. I didn't see it though.
Yeah, apparently.
Claire Claire
Yeah,
Danes.
apparently he had Uma Thurman and Sean Connery. I'm like, oh.
Oh, no, you're right. I'm getting the Claire Danes movie was something else. No, you're right. It was I got this mixed up the other day, too. The Claire Danes was something else. I can't remember, but yes, Uma Thurman, and I will probably check out that movie at some point too after I get done with the series. I think it kind of bombed out. Like I don't know. If
it didn't do too well. I'm looking at the.
People didn't know what it was, but it's man. I tell you guys, like the old series is just it's so fun, man. It's one of the coolest things like I've watched in a while.
It's like I'm looking at the Metacritic score. It's like 12%. Rotten Tomatoes like 5%, which tells me that it's probably pretty good for us. I was like, oh, it's 5%. I might like this.
Gotta watch that.
But for me, when it comes to games I've been playing, I've been playing Vanquish. Got that on PC. It's a older game, last gen, platinum. And you know what's really funny is when this game came out, it was Platinum and Sega. When it came out, it was around that time that everything was like first-person shooters, just bro gaming, Gears of War and Call of Duty. And this was kind of like their take on that sort of style, but they stylized it in more of a Japanese kind of feel, but tried to be as West as they possibly could. So it didn't really do too well. It kind of slipped under the radar, and it's one of those games that years later people are like, oh shit, Vanquish is a really good game. So I've been playing that on PC. I've also been playing a Castlevania 2 Fan Remake, and it's a full remake. It's called Castlevania 2 Rebitten, and it's where he pretty much built this Castlevania from the ground up based off of Castlevania 2. I mean, it's got the same premises of Castlevania 2, but of course better translations. He added more to it. He's even added some sprites from like previous games and redid some of the music. It feels like a whole new experience, and that was a free download that he had up, and I was like, oh, I'll check it out. I like playing Castlevania. So I've been playing that and Animal Crossing. I mean, I've talked a lot about Animal Crossing. And last but not least, I'm still trying to finish. This is a really funny story. I'm still trying to finish Dragon Quest XI's demo so I can finally play my copy of Dragon Quest XI on the Switch. The demo is like, I think they said the demo is like 15 hours long, and I'm like 4 hours into it, and I play a little bit of it, I put it down, I pick it back up. What I really like about Dragon Quest XI is whenever you pick it back up, it's like, hey, here's a summary of what's been going on. So I've not lost my place of what I'm doing, which is really good. I mean, I may have forgotten some of the controls here and there, but the story, I know what's going on. But they say when you beat the demo, you take all your experience from the demo and you bring it over to the full game, so you don't have to go back through the beginning and all that stuff. So that's why I'm just trying to beat the demo and then use my save and go back to the full game. So I've had this game since like March, and I haven't even played it yet.
Yeah, that's a really cool option. I think they added in. I should check out the demo on that. I probably wouldn't get that far into it. I might just jump on one of the old Final Fantasy Legends. I might just do that instead.
Oh yeah. But anyway, guys, this concludes another episode of XSGaming Podcast. Again, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave us a rating on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Really helps the show, helps more folks find us. And if you're listening to us on some of those platforms, so you want more gaming content, check out my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Xander Skullion, where you can actually listen to some archived episodes as well of XSGaming Podcast. You can listen to me and James talk about the Nintendo NX. It seems
some Yakuza in there too.
Oh my god, it feels so long ago back when we were like, yeah, what's this Nintendo NX? I was just thinking the other day when we had Kid Shuriken on the show. And I was like, oh man, I got this confirmation on the new Nintendo console. It's going to be called the Nintendo Deluxe. And we're like, it sounds like a hamburger.
Sounds pretty good.
I know, really. But anyway, guys, as always, thanks for listening. And as always, happy gaming.
Have a pleasant evening, everybody.